XFlip is here. Here they are, guys. We're going to consolidate this review. We're not going to spend a lot of time rambling, but I'm going to get right to the point. Can the XFlip goggles replace my favorite 030s? The Sky Zone 030s on my channel, and pretty much any Sky Zone goggles for the last couple of years have been my go-to daily driver goggle, and even over Fat Shark. Sky Zones just keep winning with me. Just an easy, no modules needed, internal modules. They work great. You guys have seen a ton of reviews with these goggles. Can XFlip compete? Let's find out. All right, guys, let's just go ahead and jump right into this review. These goggles are the XFlip Modular 5.8 Dual Diversity Dual Bay goggles with antenna, OLED, OLED displays. They are 4:3 displays, and they have a field of view of around 42 degrees with a built-in DVR with the SD card slot right in the middle, just like Fat Shark. And they do not come with the modules, so that's one thing to consider. They do not come with the modules. So I'm testing out the eSheen, the EV200D modules, and these are the ones we're going to go with today. I have left and right here, so we can try out some dual diversity, but we'll put them up against my OLEDs from Sky Zones. The 030s are some of my favorite goggles to date. So can they hold up against them? Can they beat basically a simple diversity setup like the 030s here? So something to consider. And we'll talk about the advantages of the 030s versus the XFlip in contrast. And we'll also talk about Fat Shark HDOs and HDO2s as well, because I know you guys want to know about that. But right away, I mean, the price on these without the modules is $289. So you will need to have some modules. And that's one thing to consider if you decide to buy these. They are on pre-order right now through Banggood, but we're gonna test these also today. Right away, the OLED goggles that we have here on the bench, they are decent. They have 1024 by 768 Sony displays. So these are Sony 4:3 image quality here for the displays. They have this magnification in the front, and they also have adjustable diopters and IPD. So that's pretty nice. We can go left and right here, or we can use the dial to adjust the focus on each lens, which is super nice. We have a fan on off button here, which is pretty standard on a lot of these goggles nowadays. We also have the option to turn on each module bay here. So we have RX on and off, very simple. They made that very simple for us. We have an AV in, DC in there, and I don't see the voltage range anywhere out there on the information. Hopefully this is as big as the Sky Zone, which I believe the Sky Zone goggles, the 030s, have a voltage range up to about 26 volts. So I could safely plug in a 4S battery. For these, I only used a 3S. Now on the other side, we also have HDMI, and we have the headphone input jack right there. So you can watch movies on these if you want to. They also have very similar foam pads, and these are Velcroed on, and they also come off, which is nice, so easily replaceable. And they also make a battery that fits in the back of this strap for you guys. There is a battery that is, I believe it's 2S4000 milliamp battery. It can be charged with an XT60. It comes with an XT60 adapter, but in my box, I didn't get one. So one thing to consider, that's also an additional $45 for the XFlip version of their battery. So it's called the Juice Q Smart Battery, and it does show voltage display on the side of the battery. It shows you a percentage rate, and it shows you what voltage you're at. It also has a power on and off button on it, and a little micro USB charge port. So you can charge that battery with a micro USB cable from a DC wall outlet, or you could charge it from an XT60 cable. So that's kind of cool. And tucking just underneath here is the DVR port right there. And this pair of goggles records videos down to AVI, which is not my favorite format in the world. I feel like I like the H.264 format that my Sky Zones have better, because it does come down to my computer as an MOV file. and that makes it a lot easier for me. So I'm not a big fan of the AVI format. Now it's kind of an interesting fan setup here. It looks like we have a nice cover for it. Sort of looks like a snowflake there. On the very top, we also have that power button, which works quite good. And we have a video record button here and a DVR with a multifunctional joystick right here, up, down, left, and right, push down for selecting things inside the menus. And you can format the SD card from that, as well as the menu button over here, the same type of multifunctional joystick. Just push it down, left, up, and right to access any of the brightness, contrast, color saturation, and all that jazz inside the goggles, which is nice. You have a search button over here, which does work pretty well. I think it's even faster than some of the other search buttons I've used on various different modules and goggles out there. We also have a band and channel selection, and you can feel those difference inside the goggles when you're looking inside. You can feel this is sort of has a divot in it, and this one is raised. So that's kind of a nice option. On the front of the goggles, I guess I'm not like a huge giant fan of the sort of futuristic cop mirror lenses that they have on the front. I tried to take it off, but I wasn't sure if they actually come off or not. I didn't want to break them. I'm going to plug this one in, and I do have this one on, so you'll see that it lights up. And these modules actually perform pretty good for me today. So when I show you guys the video test between both goggles, the 03Os and the XFlip goggles, you'll notice that even though we're using a cheaper module, they actually perform pretty well. And I'm using a Lollipop 3 here. It's a stubby and the longer version of the right-hand circular polarized Lollipop 3 on this side over here. So they're going up against a set of Lollipop 2s on the 03Os. So, and my Echo patch antenna, which is probably the patch antenna that I'm going to recommend you guys get for this set of goggles if you choose to buy the XFlips. These very, very cheap priced, and this Echo patch is about 8 dB, so this is a really good patch, and it covers a lot of ground out there. So really good penetration for freestyle and going behind trees. But I felt like the straps themselves were a little bit short, and I've heard other reviewers talk about this, and you can see I have them stretched all the way out here as far as I can get them, and my head is, I would say, small to average size head. So guys out there that have a big bear head, you're gonna have a hard time fitting these on your head. And one phenomenon that I had happen to me twice while I was sort of demoing these goggles for you guys was that I put this up on top of my head and on the back of my hat, and I had these things like slingshot off my head and land on the ground. So one thing to think about, you're probably going to want a better strap right away for the XFlips, because these are made, you know, again, maybe for mainland China type of use, not quite American size. They're a little bit small for American size heads. That's just one thing to think about there. But things I did like about this set of goggles right away is that the fact that they do receive the video back very well, and the lenses are really nice and bright. They do have a great resolution here, and if I could just zoom in a little bit, I can't even really show you guys how awesome these are, but I will plug in a quad just so see if I can zoom into it a little bit for you. And it's going to take a minute to come up. There it should be up. If not, we'll go ahead and go through the channels here until we find it. You can see there's quite a bit of magnification here. So we're just gonna go over to Fat Shark 1. Okay, so the video came up, but I cannot make the camera zoom into the lens here to show you how awesome these lenses are. It's just not gonna happen. But there are some strange lines going through the center right here of the image, and I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I didn't see that out of the field. One thing that I did see when I was recording videos out in the field is there was some type of sort of almost like a pixelated checkerboard pattern in the sky where the blue is. And that was a little bit concerning. I'm not sure what that was. You can sort of see that coming back in my DVR display when I show you guys the different flights from the 030s and from the XFlip. So you can kind of compare and contrast the two. But one other thing that I'm not sure about is that I'm not sure if these guys handle any type of head tracking. So I know a lot of guys out there fly long-range FPV with head trackers, and you want to know if these goggles can support head tracking as well. And the answer right now is I'm not sure, because I don't see a manual link to this yet. But one other thing for a long-range FPV guys is that these are also compatible with 2.4. So they have a mistake on the website that says 2.5, but they actually mean 2.4. So if you want to use these goggles with 2.4 modules, you can also do that for your long-range FPV wings, which is pretty sweet. And speaking of different frequencies and different modules, you know, these are the Eachine EV200D modules, or EV300s, I'm not sure. And they also support TrueD, rapid fire, fusion, and TBS modules for XFlip. So the only drawback about that is that you can see here, even this, though this is a really low profile sort of FPV 5.8 module, as far as I push this in there, I can never get the cover plate to go on. And this is one of the thinner ones out there on the market. Rapid fire would not fit the cover plate on it. This had two antenna posts that were too far apart to fit the holes that the covers came with, and they would not fit. So none of the other modules would fit inside their case. So they might need to have some separate ones that are just a little bit taller to help folks out. Maybe some different sizes that actually fit TrueD, rapid fire, fusion, and TBS would be nice for customers in the future. And I know this is going to be a question that a lot of you guys have. You know, would you hold these up against SkyZone or the HDOs or the HDO2s? Because they are OLED goggles. Well, I'm going to say that the honest answer on the channel is going to be not really, because price-wise, I mean, you could get these for $399. If you buy the XFlips, you're going to be into it $289. I think they're originally like $350, but they got down to $289 right now. But that's without a module. So you're going to have to go buy another module, and there are pretty cheap modules out there you can get. I mean, you can get the Eachine for, you know, pennies on the dollar, and it does perform quite well. They really do. I would say they almost perform better than my just regular standard diversity setup. But I don't feel like I need dual diversity, honestly, because most days when I'm flying, I'm fairly used to this setup. It performs well. I've used it for freestyle behind trees and everything, and it's just less to fuss with. And honestly, like, this is kind of moving a little bit here, which you're going to have to put some 3M tape or something on this to hold it down and hold it into place, because it does move quite a bit, and that could be a problem. It could also break off in transport. So one thing to think about there. None of this extra stuff here is moving. They are comfortable on my face. They fit. These had a little bit of light leaks on the side because they were a little bit wider out for my face, but you can see that the SkyZone 030s have a little bit better curve on them, and these are a little bit flatter across the front there, maybe to fit sort of a larger person's head. But again, the strap is smaller here, and the SkyZone strap obviously is a little higher quality. So overall build quality between the two, and Fat Shark, you know, Fat Shark and SkyZone have XFlip beat on the quality control. It looks like a nicer, sort of more streamlined design. The overall buttons are easier to get to, and there's less of these buttons on top, which I like. And to get to my SD card down here, it's on the outside instead of in the center of the eyes. I like it out here because I can get to it quicker. And I know for sure that these have head tracking, and also both have adjustable fan speeds, which is also nice. But I think my 030s are the ones I'm going to stick with for now. And let's just go ahead out now and do a little bit of kind of side-by-side comparison of both of these DVRs, and I'll show you what I'm talking about with the H.264 versus the AVI files. Here we go. Now we get to do the comparison in the DVR, and what do you guys think? Do you think the XFlip looks better? It seems to be a little bit clearer, a little bit brighter. I think that in person, when I'm looking at the XFlip goggles versus the Sky Zone, it's the other way around. Now, the XFlip DVR might look better than the 030s, but in person, the screens look better on my 030s. They look brighter and they look truer to color. So I love the XFlip DVR though. It does look a little bit stretched. My OSD does look stretched. I did see that my camera was set to 4:3, so obviously the DVR was set to 16:9. But overall, the colors look pretty well saturated on both of these DVRs. And we're using the same camera, the same quad, the X-Night 5 here from Beta FPV, and the camera that you're looking at is the exact same camera on both DVRs. We're looking at the Cadex Baby Ratel. So that camera has great low light performance as well as midday sun. And I feel like I do like the XFlip DVR a lot. I don't think they have a lot to change there. I think they're doing great there. As far as the overall performance, I felt like the XFlip on the day that I was testing them did extremely well. But when I got back and I looked at the DVR here, you can pretty much tell that the Sky Zones are performing a little bit better during the flips. Sometimes when you do a flip with a quad, you'll see some breakup in the screen in your DVR. And I'm seeing just a little more breakup flying around the field with the XFlip versus the Sky Zone 030s. But the Sky Zone 030s, again, they're not perfect. And that's what you're seeing right there on the right. That's all the way across that huge field. And we're pumping 350 milliwatt on both occasions that we're flying the DVR for both of these recordings. So I'm also using only diversity setup on the 030s versus dual diversity on the recording on the left. So one thing to think about there. If there's any advantage that you see right here, it might be from the dual diversity. But I'm still seeing moderate breakup on both sides, so I think it's a pretty fair competition here. And it's really hard to say which ones are better. I've been using the Sky Zone 030s for so long, I feel like they performed better. And maybe I see just a little more breakup in the XFlip DVR. So overall performance, even still only being diversity, maybe the 030s win. I think the DVR on the XFlips wins between these two though. But not bad for version 1 of the XFlip, guys, not bad at all. Let's go ahead now back into the garage and get to the bench, and let's just talk about the XFlip, give some final thoughts on these goggles. Can they hold up to my favorite Sky Zone 030s? All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test from the XFlips, and a little bit of comparison between these and my 030s that I pretty much my daily drivers. If you guys want to put $400 down, get everything you need for the exception of the antennas, go ahead and do that with these goggles. You'll be happy with them. I've been using them, feels like for a couple years now, and I've been predominantly Sky Zone positive on my channel for what, like 5 years now, and Fat Shark has been around forever. And I use these even over my HD3s when these came out, and I'm still using them over HDO2s. So I have the HDO2s, but I prefer these because they're easy and they're simple, and I just like the screens on them, the way they look. Now, what's really important to you if you're picking out a pair of goggles is, number one, comfort. You need to try on goggles in person. It's hard to order a pair of goggles off the internet because when you get them and you take them out of the box, you have no idea how they're going to fit. The strap on these are a little bit small. It did do that slingshot off my head thing a couple times, which I thought was really dangerous because my module's on here and I was worried that these posts were going to break or I was going to just completely destroy my module when this thing hit the ground. The goggles survived. There's no scratches on the goggles from the impact, but not cool, man. You don't want your goggles like slingshotting off your head. So we need a much larger strap to accommodate larger heads here for American size heads. We have big heads, guys. So I like the fact that they do have dual module support bays, but I don't really think that those are super needed because by the time you buy 2 modules on this and 4 antennas all the way around, you're gonna have around a $500 investment into these goggles. So think about that. I mean, you could buy the HDO 2s for around 500, and so you might be even in this getting close to the same price if you buy name brand modules for this goggles. So, you know, is it worth it for the price here? You get everything you need here, again, with the exception of antennas, and these are more comfortable. The strap is nicer, head tracking and all that jazz. You don't have to buy modules. So when you buy those, you're pretty much done for that price. For probably around $430, you could get out the door with these. But again, I think these are version 1. I feel like these are kind of like prototypes, testing the waters for you guys, and we'll have to see what they come up with for version 2. I'm very interested to see, but I think that these will probably drop in the price in the coming weeks, if not the next couple days, as more of these reviews keep coming out and reviewers are giving their opinions on the XFlips, because I think there's still some work to be done here, and I hope to see more cool things coming out from XFlip. Kind of a cool company, and they've got some good ideas going here. Just need a little bit more polishing for the FPV community, guys. But I'm Justin Davis. Take care. Hope you enjoyed this honest review on the channel. Please do subscribe and help me out on Patreon if you want. You like these videos and you want to see more of them in the future. Guys, take care, be safe, and I'll see you on the next one.